Welcome back to another episode of the TwistedTubz podcast. I am your host, Stephen Tuberty, aka TwistedTubz. She is back for another round of chattering with the Tubs. Courtney McKeon. McKeon? I said your name wrong, Courtney. Tell him your name.
Courtney McKeon.
McKeon. I got it right, but I fucked myself up on that one. But yeah, she is Coco, hashtag Team Friend. She's back for another round of banter with the Tubs, and we're going to just get right stuck into it. So, Courtney, the first question I had lined up for you tonight. I know we talked the last time about a lot of your acting and the CV that you have developed and built up over the last few years. But what is it about the acting craft that you love? Like, what is it that draws you into it? And you just like when you see a movie or you see like an acting piece or a character on the screen, what is it about that you just kind of go, I love that. I kind of, because I get that with some actors. I see the way that they deliver lines and just the way their mannerisms without even saying a word. I'm kind of going, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. That's cool, you know. I just get drawn into things, character pieces and things. But I'm very interested to know kind of like the style of movies or like the genres that you kind of tend to draw you into, like the craft that you end up doing as an actress.
Yeah, so I think for me, the ability to like create an emotional response in someone else is something that like inspires me in actors, or something that I want to emulate in my acting. It's that like osmosis, this passing on of an emotion from the screen to the person watching, that just complete raw power and able to like get that reaction from your audience. And I think I can't even think, from the top of my head of like, let's say a specific actress or actor who's like really, made me think of this. I think maybe a good example is like a recent example is maybe like Euphoria and Zendaya and
You might have lost Courtney. Did I freeze up on you there?
Yeah, for a sec.
Okay, that's good. So, yeah, because you froze on my side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I heard from Zendaya inwards. I was like when you said Zendaya, it kind of froze. So I was kind of like trying to figure out what happened there. But it's all good. Look, we're living in the 2021 podcast kind of lifestyle, which is all through Zoom and online interaction. So you're going to have technical issues and kind of breakouts here and there. Like, but yeah, it's all good, man. But like, hitting back to what you were saying about certain like seeing actresses like Zendaya and stuff like that. I would be like that as well. I obviously the running joke in Celtic Badger media at this point is the pound chop Tom Hardy. Ever since that framed poster went up with the green light, that's what they were calling me. And I love his stuff. Like I've seen him in like films like The Drop and things like that, and just to see him play these kind of like different characters, like you see him in Venom and all, and they're bigger scale movies, but you watch Peaky Blinders and Taboo and all these, and it's just a very different thing. But there's loads of different actors, as I said, you can pull from any different genre. Like, I mean, you look at the horror genre, and it's like I love horror movies, but I went through this weird stage where I was like, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, all these like teen angst horror films. And it was a weird thing because I grew up on, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Exorcist, things like that. And it was just, you go through these periods of time where you end up falling into these different buckets of like, oh, this is super cool. I like these movies now. But, did you ever go through it? What?
My cat is scraping at the door, so I'm just going to
go get your cat.
He's hi. Sorry, he's super dramatic. Yeah, he's just gonna. Sorry about that.
That's no problem whatsoever, man. Oh, look at your cat. What's your cat's name?
Val.
Val.
You
He looks like
can
a
just
Bond villain now.
I love how you were speaking about I suppose your history with horror and your relationship with horror, because I have like a zero relationship with horror. And I mean, this used to come up on set all the time, but I am the probably least watched actress in our group in terms of like film and like movies, and in particular horror. It was never my genre to sit down and enjoy a horror film, and I find that so funny about all you guys, because you love it.
It's not even that. It's like, you were saying that you never kind of grew up like watching horror a lot. It wouldn't be your main genre, and one of your biggest roles to date was in like. Well, I mean, I know it was more like a drama horror, like, do you know what I mean? It was a split drama horror based thing, but it's still like a horror movie. And
Yeah.
then like you look at like films like Framed and Savior and things, and they're very horror elements. It's crazy to think, because I mean I remember Paul, on
Yeah.
the set of The Parish, he's the very same, isn't he? Like he's not very horror based at all, and he ends up
Yeah.
in a horror movie. Do you know what I mean? I think it happens every actor. I mean, when you think back at it, like you look at Jennifer Aniston, like I think one of her first big movies was The Leprechaun, and you have Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger was Texas Chainsaw 2. So these, you know what I mean? It's even these
Yeah.
big scale actors, like top Hollywood actors, like being in horror films. So might take a
That's
horror
it.
film to get you to that drama piece.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
also I doing horror, and I'm sure you feel the same. Like it's a fun genre to be in, I think,
Mm.
because you have such a wide range of emotion that you get to bring to the screen that like you don't see in traditional mediums. Like, I mean, to get to portray so many different emotions in one sitting, for a horror, because like, horror has to have all of these elements. It has to have this light element, it has to have happiness, you have to engage with the characters, you have to want them to survive, depending on the genre, and then you have to have fear, which is such a multifaceted emotion. It's not just one. Fear isn't one thing. Fear isn't one thing for one person, so as an actor, I think horror is like the playground, to get to be in and be involved with.
I mean, I totally agree with you, because it is that thing where you get to tap into a lot of things. But I do think it's mad as well that because genuinely I think it's like when someone first meets you, it's like they kind of, yourself, it's first impressions of people. Think it's like, you think of, oh, I wonder what films they're into, you know, like, I know for a fact that people were saying, like, do you know what I mean? Because I have that like pure like wild. When you first meet me, I'm very bouncy, as you know. I'm a very kind of like, I love hugs and all this kind of. I'm just a pure bouncy person. It's crazy to think that like horror, like I grew up on horror, and horror is like, do you know what I mean? A very kind of like, I always watch it, and it's very ingrained in me. But it's definitely something. It wouldn't be the only thing. Like
Yeah.
I was the guy that like some of my favorite movies in the world are American Pie, and it's not because it's raunchy comedy. It's because it's about friends and they're just buddies, and I love all that, because I'm just a sucker for all that stuff. 10 Things I Hate About You. I'm going to get railed for even admitting this on camera, but yeah, I had that on VHS and DVD. Films
Good.
like The Gladiator, things. I'm very eclectic in my tastes. Same with my music. You look at my CD collection. Like you have like 50 Cent, you have DMX, but you also have Frank Sinatra, and like the Gorillas or David Gray, things like that. Just it's very all over the place. And I think you
Yeah.
strike me as that as well. I think at one time you might have been in one frame, unintended, but then I think over time it might have changed for you with what, like, films you watched, music you listened to, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I definitely am more adventurous in like films I'll watch. Like as I've grown older, I definitely I suppose look out for and like look to see exceptional films, or I want to like consume that see those things that people have said for years, oh my god, this is amazing. And I kind of still, I think I love kids films, you know, and I think that's always going to be me. Like my favorite, like my top three are Coraline, Cat in the Hat, and then Pan's Labyrinth, which isn't a kids film, but those are my, you know, top films. Like, you know, they're the ones I could put. Oh, but too far in my favorites.
And just going off of the kids film things for a minute, it's like if you were to like off the top of your head name like your top three Disney movies, what would they be?
Oh, Disney. Tough, but it would. I think I'd have Frozen as number one, which is, you know, I just something about Frozen, and I think the classic Sleeping Beauty. I love that. I loved
Yeah.
that as a kid, and for number three, I think The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know Frozen is relatively new, but it made it stamped its mark on the world pretty damn tight. Like, you know, my three off the
What?
top of my head. Then, actually, I'll give you a better one. I'll name the first. I'll name number three and two, and I'll see can you guess like because you
Ooh,
know going back to like judging people and kind of like what you think they would be. Aladdin is number three.
okay.
I love Aladdin. The original cartoon, like you know,
Yeah.
the jungle or sorry, the Lion King is number two. So what do you, Courtney, what do you reckon is my favorite Disney film of all time?
Hercules.
See, is that because I'm bouncy and pure wired? I'm going to shock you. My favorite Disney
Oh,
movie of all time is Beauty and the Beast.
oh wow.
Yeah, that is my
Love.
all-time favorite Disney movie. I just love the concept of it. You know, it's just the whole concept of, you know, you just regardless of you know him being a beast and you know like the world is against it and everything else, they just end up together and you know and it doesn't it's not always about you know like the six pack or the good looks. It's you know what I mean in that element. Um, you know it's in it and yeah. So there's a little tidbit about Tubbs you probably didn't know. Beauty and the
I
Beast
love that.
is my favorite Disney movie. That's what I love about conversation, man. You find things out about people and you're going to go, that's awesome, you know? It's
I
really cool.
love that.
Like I love that Frozen's yours because you know it's because I mean relatively people was like, but that's new. That doesn't matter, you know? Just doesn't matter. Like I mean, if a movie is that good and it hits you right here, then
Yeah.
it gets placed in the number one spot all of the time, you know? Because that's the kind of like the thing with movies, man, that we've been kind of because we've all grown up with movies and TV shows and your music and just you know entertainment, you know, because we're two entertainment kids, you know, and I think that's why the topic tonight is basically about this kind of genre because
Mm.
we are really in that fold. I mean, I know we have like you know real lives outside of the madness of the bubble, but we are very much entertainment kids. Do you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think the next question I'm leading into is when you look back at all of the things you've done, is like I won't even put it like normally I'd put like what's your top three, but I just in general we'll have a conversation about it. When you look back over all the movies you've done, like what were your favorite acting moments? If you were even to put it like
Yeah.
name three or four top, like pick them if you could off the top of your head. Like if you can't, it's cool. We'll just banter back. But I think just like when you think back of like Framed and you know you think back of The Perished and all these other things that we've all done and things that you've done before on stage and things like that. Like what springs to mind as your like favorite moments?
Yeah. I definitely have some, like, I think there's acting has been such a big part of my life that there are times when maybe I had like these feelings of like I did okay here, and those became my, like, you know, my favorite moments. For me, one of them was being during 2014. Limerick was the city of culture, and I got to be involved in Fish Amble theatre production, this like professional theatre production of the Colleen Bawn trials. And every day, every night that it was on, it was a promenade piece of theatre, so it moved, so the audience moved with you through different rooms. And every night I opened the show, and I would walk into this room, and like I had to get the audience's attention. I was the signal that the show had begun, and I had to walk in, and I can't even remember what I had to scream. I had to be like, well, what, like scream something to like about a cloak, and I had to like take my cloak, and then I had to like tell everyone to follow me and walk out this door. And I was 18. I just finished my leaving cert. It was the summer after leaving cert, and I was being paid to act, which was this this huge thing. And I was just so proud. Like every night, it was so exciting to have that moment to go in. And I think we ran 14 nights, I think, or 10 nights, and it was just so exciting to have that moment and go in, and everyone had to look at you, and it was up to you to get the show on the road, to get the audience to follow you out. And I set the scene for the whole evening, and that was a huge moment for me. And then once I started going to screen, I think we mentioned it last time, there's a scene in the Three Don'ts that where I really have to be emotional and like let out this huge cry. And I remember everyone on set was like really congratulatory afterwards and really shocked. But I think it's more even that I could feel it in the moment that it happened. Like the second that I did it, I could feel the reaction of everyone around me, and I could feel that it was real, it was raw, and it felt that way. And I felt super proud then. And I think to bring it to a head then, it was, there was moments in The Perished where I got that feeling, where I was able to bring the emotions that needed to come to the surface and get them there. There's a few examples. I think a lot of scenes where I had to, like, I suppose, break down and be upset. I felt like I was really present in the character. And I think, you can always forgive yourself afterwards, even if it's not something that you're doing, that's really out there, but like you just kind of know yourself, and I'm sure you've felt it too. Sometimes you just feel like you're really in the character, like you're inhabiting every essence of that character. And I felt that way with Sarah in a lot of scenes.
It's weird that you said it, because I mean, like I've done so many different types of characters now. Like when you look back at like Legacy Point and Framed and even my own movie, Illusions of the Mind. And that was a very psychological character. That was a film very much like when I first kind of really wanted to do this. I wrote a feature movie and then realized, oh damn, now I have to cast people to play this. And I know nothing about filmmaking. I don't know what I'm doing. So we had like grabbed two Sony handycams, and we kind of like picked up like it was like Mike Marie Harrigan. It was her dad at the time, was like the guy that I knew did all that stuff. So I brought Mike in, and then I had to figure out on the fly while I was like making a movie how to act. And I think I figured it out on the way. I think that first movie really kind of opened me up. I kind of realized going, like, if you watch that movie, if you go back and actually watch that film from the beginning to the end, it seems like Nick is getting worse as he's going. Like he's getting crazier and he's breaking down more. That's not even what it is. It's just I started learning how to act as the process was going through the movie. So as we were going at the very start, I was very kind of like, oh God, that red light's on the camera and I don't know what to do. It was very clammed up. But by the time we got to the end of it, and it's crazy that you like jump forward like almost nearly 10, 12 years later from when I first made that movie to In Memoriam, which I won't speak about in any real detail because, it hasn't been released to the world or anything yet. But that was the one where you were saying about Sarah, you felt real moments of like of you in the character. That one was very much that for me. And it was such a weird feeling because I had hit it before, but I'd never stayed in it, for longer than like maybe like a take or two. And this one was like, this was most of the movie. I was going, oh, this is heavy. So I kind of got a taste of kind of what you had to go through with Sarah, to be fair, in a small way. I mean, like as I said, the context is very different, but no, I mean, just looking at it in general, like, you look back over movies like done. One of my biggest and it's not even like like serious things. I love the stupid things that happen on set. Like, it's like in the Three Don'ts where I'm hanging out the side of a van going up the road at like 35, 40 miles an hour, screaming absolute nonsense into a camera. Um, One of my favorite film moments ever. And do you know a story behind that? You've seen the Three Notes, obviously, so you know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
scene I'm on about where they're coming up the road.
yeah.
That scene happened as a joke between
Amazing.
me and Paddy, because me and Paddy will, if you ask him, will tell you this. There's certain sections of my character that ended up on screen that Paddy was like, I dare you do that. Oh, I do. Will we do it? Go on, yeah, go do that. We were egging each other on, or he was egging me on to do things, and it became this thing. And I think that's why the character became what it was. It was one of those
Yeah.
really off the chain wild characters. Like, but yeah, I mean, I just love it, man. When you think back over your thing,
Mhm.
I mean, in general, because for you, um, I can say what characters I love from you personally is like Sarah is genuinely a highlight of mine. But you know, I look at the other stuff you've done as well as I love even though like Frames, like you were not spoiling it for anyone, go watch it on YouTube, but you were the character you were in that. Um
Yeah.
but I loved that, it just worked. And that was our first time working together when you think about it. And it just
Mm.
gelled. But yeah, just seeing you bounce back and forth through all the different roles, man, has just been, as I said, it was like it's a proud moment when you see anyone, when you see anyone nail it. It was like out on Intervention with Brian Regan when he played the priest character. When I seen him nail it, I was kind of going, "Oh my god, that's so cool." Because I think
Yeah.
that's what you have to do. Is I mean, look,
Yeah.
acting, you know yourself, man. Acting's like a sport. You're trying to get that spot. You want to be in that role, but you can still be happy for the people that you're really close with and people that you class as friends when they nail something and they really stick a part to the role or to the wall. You kind of go like, yeah, that's really good. And that's what I loved about it. You know what I mean? Because I knew what my part was in the parish, Courtney. Like, I knew what I had to do. I knew
Yeah.
what kind of I knew what I was bringing to the table, even though like you've worked with me enough, and any of the lads will stake claim to this. I 9 times out of 10 can be the most insecure guy about my roles ever. I'm always asking, is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Should we go again? But for that one, it was one of those things. I knew where I had to
You
be.
know.
I knew what I had to do to get it to
Yeah.
where it needed to go. And I think you had the very same mindset with Sarah. I really do think that. I think you knew how deep into that character. Like, I mean, because or I would never say that. Like, I never got the impression that you were full method actor. Like, I don't think you just stay in it, but I felt, I feel, I could be wrong because I'm going to ask you about it now. But do you feel when you came away from the parish, did you leave a bit of yourself in Sarah?
I wouldn't say left a bit of myself with it. I definitely I think there was so much about that experience, and like particularly while we were filming, there was a lot in my personal life that like was kind of almost in turmoil, and I found Sarah to be so cathartic and therapeutic to play because there's this way of like putting those emotions that you don't really know where to put. You're not really ready to maybe go to those places yourself, and it was such a great like excuse to like cry and to like shout and even to be like tired, because I mean, like we were, those weekends of filming were really intense. Like we were filming, like 15 hours a day. And it was a great excuse when I was done filming, like on a Monday, to be like, yeah, I'm like, I was like, because I think one of the hardest things for me with the parish when we were doing the first few weekends is I was working 9 to 6, Monday to Friday, but I was also doing a 2-woman play at the same time where I was rehearsing from 6 to 10 p.m. So I was going straight from work to rehearsals and doing that during my week. And then from Friday, we were filming until like 3 or 4 a.m. and then filming the full days on the weekend. So I was like, I definitely like reached burnout, and I was able to like leave the job I was in at that time because I just did not have the time to like recover from the parish. But I think emotionally it was like a really good experience, and I'm really glad personally that like I don't go to method. I don't feel like a character is ever a loss or a gain in like this, you know, which that can lead to unhealthy tendencies. You know, you see it with some actors where it gets, you know, you create too close a bond. And I'm lucky that that didn't happen with Sarah, but I definitely feel like the performance and getting to do it will stay with me, but all positive memories.
Because look, the way I look at it as well is about things like, as I said, like the Parish, especially the Parish, because that was a heavy movie, in its own right. But I do find I've always said it, like it's like a legacy point. I remember every time we're on set now. I mean, if we're ever on a set again and you see Paddy, tell me to drink or eat something, there's a reason behind that. Because I remember on Legacy Point, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but I was
I don't think
so
so.
in character. Like, I mean, I couldn't pull myself out of the character. I was so in it. And I was so focused on getting, you know, like just getting it. I wanted to nail this role. Um, that I wasn't eating or drinking all day. I was just going, like, you know, constant. And I remember I was doing a scene with Brian and in the later stages, like the last scene of the movie or something, and I have to do this thing where it's like there's a chip in his head or whatever, you know, and it starts to kind of like get to him, so he has to hold his head. And I remember I just hit the deck, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what happened?" You know, I just bang out like a light. So
Yeah.
there has been times where I have found myself, because you see, I do attribute this to, I was never like classically trained. I was never like, you know, I never went to acting school. I think it was, I was explaining to you about making that first movie. I kind of trained myself over time and learned from other people. So like even when I'm on set with yourself and the lads and stuff, I'm learning from you guys. You know, things that like I see you do, and I'm going, oh, I should really, you know, try to do that. That looks cool. You know, I'm picking things up as much as I've done. I'm also still learning. I think that's the way the craft has to be. But I think the process of how I learned is why I tend to kind of sometimes go in, you know, in
Yeah.
too far. Now it hasn't happened on all of them, thankfully, because you know, like the likes of Polly and things, they're comedy, so I can just, you know, be myself and amp it up to 11. But
Yeah, and have a
on
good
things
time.
like the Parish, and like, you know, because
Yeah.
that was, you know, that was a full suit. But in Memoriam was definitely that for me. It was definitely that one where I found myself, even when the shoot was over, I found myself 3 or 4 days afterwards, still kind of in a fog,
Yeah.
kind of pulling myself back. So maybe it was a good idea the world kind of flipped on its head after that. Kind of give me a chance to kind of regroup and
Right.
go like, or I can balance out and kind of refigure this, you know, refigure it out, like, you know. But going back to what you were saying last week, on the other show, about we ran about, like, you know, like you'd love to do like a period piece drama. But
Yeah.
so I was actually thinking about it. I was like, so I was thinking, it was like, what other characters, like type of characters, and what other kind of like genre of movie kind of roles would you love to explore going forward? Like, you know, if you were like, you know, like looking at things like, would you ever, like, you know, you've kind of done action with the Three Don'ts, you know. Um,
And Mikey Casey being my stunt double.
yeah, yeah. Poor Mikey.
Well,
Yeah.
not
But,
figuratively.
no, but I mean, is there like, is
Yeah.
like, you know, like outside of the box of things like that, you know, when you think of it as going like, oh, I've never tried this, so maybe I'd love to try something like this character. Is there any kind of characters like, you know, this is only like seeing movies or TV shows or music videos and just seeing kind of characters that like kind of like, you know, because I'd love to, like, I'm a big superhero head, so I'm like, I'd love to play something like Iron Man, you know, or Superman, or, you know, things like that, you know. But I'm
Yeah.
like 5 foot and a buck half in height, so, you know.
Be
But like,
nice to
just
see
for
you.
yourself, like, what
Yeah.
would you have anything that like springs to mind?
I think for me, like I kind of I touched on it last time. I would love to be in a period piece, and I think there's like this level that like the BBC reaches with their period pieces that I would just like adore to be involved. And I think also I'd love to be a like Doctor Who sidekick or the Doctor someday. Like, you know, because I grew up like loving Doctor Who. And I always kind of saw that as like, oh, I'd love to be in an ideal world. I'd love to just like have an episode of Doctor Who where I'm playing someone in the past and And even if it's like a one episode thing, and that would be like the everything I wanted to do in one.
I absolutely love that answer because I genuinely in 100 years never thought you were going to say Doctor Who. I just did
Really?
not think you were going to say it. That is so cool. Like, but that's what I mean. You know, I mean, it's like, have you ever seen Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to be like the Tom Cruise of that franchise. Like that's I want to do things like that. But then I watch other movies, like like Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith and things like that. And I would love to just be a character that has to, like, do you know what I mean? Just like play that kind of broken down character. Do you know what I mean? And just really kind of just become it on screen. So I think for me it's kind of a toss up, like because I've done comedy, like, you know what I mean, I've done the action stuff, I've done
Yeah.
horror and creature work and things like that, but it's the drama, funny enough, that, like, I mean, I've done sections of it. I mean, In Memoriam was probably the biggest one I've hit to date, but I I think that's going forward. I think that's a genre I really need to tap into more.
I'd love to see you in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I mean, like, I think I should like write like a high octane, like Mission Impossible sci-fi like fucking movie with like a badass lead, female character, and just like put you in it. And now, Courtney, now you got to go in and like own the screen and kick some ass. And we just go like that. But you know what I mean? No, but I think it's really cool that, like, and you only find these things out from talking to people back and forth as well. You know what I mean? Because it's you know what I mean? It's like, would you have ever have known that, like, Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie? Would I ever have known that Doctor Who is where you want to go franchise wise? You know, that's what I mean.
Exactly.
It's human communication and human conversation is just the best thing. I mean, look, realistically, we would rather be sitting in a room, chatting and kind of, so,
And create.
but it's the
But we
time we
don't.
live in, and we kind of got to work with what we got. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I'd say, look, I mean, as I said, we're at the end of it here because we've kind of hit the half-hour mark again. Um, but yeah, look, as I said to you last week, man, I'm just so happy you came on yet again. Not even the
Thank
first
you.
time you stuck up. You stuck with it the first time and kind of put up with me. Now you come back on, so I'm gonna have to come back on again eventually, like, and I'll even make you a
And
deal. If you come back on again, I'll let you pick the topic.
ooh, sounds good. Sounds
That's
good.
it. So you come up with the topic and we will banter on about it, because that's what it's about.
Right.
This podcast is more or less about conversation, Just,
I love it.
most
I love
most
it.
of the time it's all friends catching up because they can't physically
Yeah,
see each other. But for the
exactly.
most point, it's finding out, having a conversation, and deep diving into people's minds a bit, and just figuring it out, and getting to know each other a bit more. But Courtney, as always, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it. It's been 2 great episodes. I've had so much fun talking to you.
Likewise.
Hopefully, as I said, hopefully the world will sort itself out so we won't actually have to, like, not physically see anybody else for another year. But we will. We'll get there. As what they say in The Crow the whole time. Have you ever seen the movie The Crow?
No, I
There's a movie
haven't.
called The Crow, and there's a famous saying in that movie, and it's, it can't rain all the time, and it won't, because the sunshine has to come up, and that's the way you look at the world. It will get
Exactly.
brighter for all of us. But Courtney, I will wrap this up because I know you got work and you got to get back to your life. Um,
Thank you.
Once
Thank you
again,
for
this is the Twisted Tubs podcast. I have been Stephen Tuberty, aka Twisted Tubs. She is Courtney McKeon, aka Coco. Two halves of the same coin. Hashtag Team Twisted Tubs. Hashtag friends. Courtney, love the bones of you, and I will talk to you again down the road.
you too. You too.
You too.